Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another Pokemon TCG video. In today's video we're taking a look at a deck that has been around for quite a while, but we're going to take a look at it once again updated with cards from XY Flashfire, and this is probably one of the most annoying decks in the world, Trevenant Accelgor. So Trevenant has the ability, it's a stage 1 Forest Curse. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand. So most decks revolve around item cards, right? Stage 2 decks, they need their rare candy to evolve into their stage 2s. Other decks need things like Dark Patch or all sorts of level balls and ultra balls to search out their Pokemon. Shutting down item cards is a very big deal. But the reason it's such a big deal in this deck is because we're also going to combine Trevenant with Accelgor, which has the deck and cover attack, which automatically paralyzes and poisons the defending Pokemon. It does 50 damage, then you have to shuffle in Accelgor. Now the reason this is so devastating is because your opponent can't play any cards like Switch or Escape Rope while Trevenant is in the active spot. So every turn we're going to use deck and cover, it shuffles Accelgor into the deck, and then we promote Trevenant, which has Forest Curse, and we stop any switching cards from being played. This is a very annoying strategy, a very effective one. This is the strategy that won the U.S. National Championships last year using Gothitelle instead of Trevenant, but this is still very effective. That's basically the idea of this deck. Constant paralysis lock between Accelgor and Trevenant. Now, in order to make this lock even better, we have Dusknoir, Sinister Hand. As often as you like, you can move damage counters around on your opponent's Pokemon. So instead of taking prizes and allowing your opponent to attack with something new after their active Pokemon gets knocked out, we're simply going to move the damage away from the active Pokemon over and over and constantly paralyze it. So there's no way for your opponent to attack unless they have some specific cards, which we'll get to in a second. So the idea of Dusknoir is just to move the damage away so you don't knock out the active Pokemon until you're ready to knock out everything. And then you just win in one big turn with Sinister Hand. So we just have a 1-1-1 Dusknoir line. I actually have the wrong Duskull here. This should be the newest one with Revival, I think it's what it's called. The newest one from Flashfire. I forgot to add that Duskull in here. Probably not too big of a deal, but if you're going to play this deck, I actually would play the newest Duskull just in case. So Dusknoir is a very big part of this deck as well. It would be nice to have a bigger line in here, but space is difficult to find. So we're going to stick with the 1-1-1 line. All you really need is one in play. And we do run one town map as well to get it out of the prizes if it is in there, which is just flip over all your prize cards. So then when you do take a knockout, you can pick out what you need. Our other Pokemon in the deck, Mew EX. So Mew has the versatile ability. It can use the attacks of any Pokemon in play. So this is just to make it simpler to deck and cover with Accelgor. You just deck and cover with Mew instead, so you don't have to shuffle in Accelgor every time. It's very simple. You use a basic Pokemon instead of having to shuffle in the Stage 1. And it also gives you a different type of Pokemon to use deck and cover with. You could maybe hit for weakness with this Psychic type. Also, Mew EX is just a pretty cool Pokemon in general. For our final Pokemon, we have Munna. Long Distance Hypnosis can buy some time in a pinch. And we also have Musharna. This is our consistency Pokemon for the end of the game. Forewarn, look at the top two cards, pick one of them and put it into your hand. So this helps later on in the game where you need to keep that lock going. You need to deck and cover every turn. This allows you to look at 2 extra cards and maybe dig for that last double colorless energy you need to deck and cover for the win. Musharna is very nice in this deck. You might want Electrode, but Musharna is actually better in this kind of a deck because it allows you to look at more cards most of the time. Our energy is very simple, just 4 of these. 4 double colorless. We don't need anything else. We just need to use this to deck and cover over and over. They get shuffled in every time we attack, and that's all it takes to attack. So 4 of those are supporters. We have 4 Skyla, 4 N, 3 Colress, 2 Professor Juniper. We do have 2 Tropical Beach in this deck since it is kind of a slower deck at times. and it has a lot of points where it just needs to sit back and draw a lot of cards. Then we have 2 Lysander as well. This is very good against decks that want to try to break our lock with Keldeo EX rushing in. We can use Lysander and just bring out that Keldeo right away and hit it with a deck and cover and stop that right in its tracks. So here we have our supporter line. Our trainers aren't too complicated. We just have 4 level ball. We want to search out our basics, and this can also search out Accelgor, so that's very nice. We have 2 Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards, search for a Pokemon, and then 2 Evo Soda as well. Since we run so many darn evolution lines, Evo Soda ends up being pretty good. Also, this can get us through Archeops, and then against Archeops, we can Evo Soda into an Accelgor, and then deck and cover with Mew. Just getting that Accelgor into play is very important. So we have Evo Soda, and we've already seen the town map. We have a startling Megaphone. We just need 1, because against Garbodor, if they get a tool on it, all we need to do is use startling Megaphone once, and then once we promote Trevenant, Forest Curse prevents Garbodor from reattaching a tool, so Garbotoxin is not a worry after that. They can't activate it if they can't play any items, because they can't put a tool on Garbodor again. So we just need 1 startling Megaphone. We have 1 Sacred Ash. Now this is better than Super Rod in this deck because we don't even run basic energy, so might as well use Sacred Ash instead. We can get 5 Pokemon. This can be very nice to recover some Pokemon that we want to put back into the deck. We have 4 Float Stone. This is very important to the deck strategy. This allows Trevenant to have a free retreat cost, so every turn we can just retreat into Accelgor and then deck and cover once again. Otherwise, Trevenant has a nasty 3 retreat cost, so Float Stone is very nice. 1 Muscle Band does 20 additional damage when we attack, and then a Silver Bangle. This allows us to knock out a Keldeo EX with Accelgor. So these are all very nice things to add a little bit extra damage. And our A-Spec for the deck is Dowsing Machine. Discard 2 cards and then get back any trainer card. It's just very good in this deck. Now, this deck can be very frustrating. This is a deck that is very good against certain things and very bad against other things. There's not really any middle ground for this deck. Either it's going to be really good or really bad against certain things. The biggest thing from the newest set that gives Trevenant Accelgor problems is Lysander, because it can switch your Trevenant out of the active spot, and then it allows your opponent to play item cards again. So they can Lysander and bring out your Accelgor and then play a switch and knock out your Accelgor. This is a very big problem. But most decks don't run more than 1 or 2 Lysander from what I've seen, so maybe you can withstand this kind of a thing with this deck still. The biggest problem is always going to be Virizion EX. There is not really anything you can do to get around that. You can try all sorts of things, most of them don't work. That Verdant Wind ability stops poison and paralysis, which is your entire deck. And as long as Virizion EX exists, this deck is always going to be a very, very risky play. There's just no way around it. So those are the big things with this deck to look out for. Otherwise, if your opponent isn't running any of those, this is going to be a very, very powerful deck. So let's go ahead and see this in action, our Trevenant Accelgor deck. And I must say, this is very frustrating to play against. If you've never played against one of these decks, well, consider yourself lucky, because it is very, very annoying. So you see we're going up against a Garbodor deck, and we see Darkness Energy as well. So this probably an Yveltal Garbodor deck, which we'll have to deal with. And we do see the Trubbish in the active spot. So this is going to be, this might be actually one of the few close matchups. Most matchups for Trevenant Accelgor are either very good or very bad. There's usually no middle ground. This one might be in the middle. I would still say this is probably a favorable matchup for this deck, but it would still be kind of in the middle. Reason being, Yveltal EX, and even that regular Yveltal, can put on tons of pressure early on in games. Trevenant is weak to darkness, so just a 2-energy Evil Ball can actually be a knockout, which is very annoying. And they also have Garbodor, which can slow you down as well. So it's just there's a lot of things that can get in your way, but if you do execute your strategy, eventually you should rise up and be able to lock them. It just takes time. So I am going to level ball for a Shelmet here. We'll go ahead and put down the Mew EX as well. Toss a float stone onto the Phantom so I can retreat, get it out of harm's way. And then I'll go ahead and Skyla for a Tropical Beach so that I can draw lots of cards this turn. I'm going to retreat into the Mew EX just to have something to throw up there that won't get knocked out immediately. And then Tropical Beach to draw a lot of cards. Alright, so we're trying to get our turn 2 Trevenant going, but we see a turn 2 Garbodor instead. And this can be very devastating to our strategy because, well, now Mew EX is basically a sitting duck, which has no ability anymore, and the only attack it can use is Replace. It's not very good. So we'll have to see what we can do about this. We see the Tropical Beach still out there. Hopefully we don't see a Verbank City Gym, because then my hand is pretty much garbage. I do have a dowsing machine. I don't really want to use that right away, but we'll see if I have to. There is the Oblivion Wing, and Mew EX does stay asleep. We have a Trevenant at least. We can go ahead and put that up there. Get another Phantom, and I can Ultra Ball if I need to. I'll probably Ultra Ball, discarding the Musharna and the Shelmet, and we can get an Accelgor into play. Or I'll just Tropical Beach and draw 3 cards, which is not bad either. So here, we're in a bit of a pickle. That Garbodor, we need to make sure we get that Startling Megaphone, but before we do that, we want to make sure we have the means to stop that Garbodor from reattaching a tool. That means we want multiple Trevenant. We want to be able to stop. We want to be able to stop our opponent from getting Garbotoxin back. That's the biggest thing. So let's level ball for an Accelgor here. We'll get that into play and hopefully use deck and cover this turn. I can Ultra Ball if I need to. It's either that or bench another Shelmet. I think I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball, though. We do have that Sacred Ash to recover Pokemon if I really need to. So we'll go ahead and discard those, and we'll get another Trevenant. So hopefully we'll be able to get Trevenant going and be able to get a Startling Megaphone and hopefully use deck and cover this turn. But it looks like, no, it looks like we're not going to be able to deck and cover this turn. That's a, wow, we missed that double colorless energy. That's pretty bad. I was hoping to be able to just, go ahead and buy a turn there, but no, looks like we're going to have to Tropical Beach again, and this is why Tropical Beach is important in this deck. Even though it's only Stage 1 Pokemon, this deck can be very slow at times to get everything going. I will go ahead and Ultra Ball, just so we can draw as many cards as possible from this Tropical Beach, and I'm just going to grab a Pokemon to sacrifice here. I would prefer not to sacrifice a Shelmet, well, those are gone, or an Accelgor. And I don't want to just throw up a Phantom because it's weak to darkness. So let's force my opponent to have some resources here. Munna has 60 HP, and I've already discarded the Musharna anyway. So we'll throw out Munna and perhaps buy a turn with the pink fluffy Pokemon. Just throwing it out there. We see another Trubbish, and a Floatstone, and a Bicycle. And alright, we'll see. My opponent just needs an Energy to Darkness Blade for the knockout, or a Hypnotoxic Laser to Oblivion Wing, but no! Munna actually lives! Go figure. Wow, Munna actually survived, and it actually served its purpose there. That's exactly what we needed to have happen. Just a turn of reprieve here to get our stuff going. So let's go with the N. Going to be drawing 6 cards off of that. I could attach the DCE here, but I'm afraid of Enhanced Hammer, so I'm just going to hold on to it for now, and we'll just be able to deck and cover next turn after Munna goes down. Tropical Beach is gone as well. Verbank City is in play, so that's kind of a bummer, but oh well. We do see an Ultra Ball for a Darkrai and a Bianca for 5. We don't see Bianca too much anymore. But Munna certainly will go down this turn. It's just a matter of which Pokemon will do it. Well, we get hit by the Oblivion Wing, Will we get hit by a Y Cyclone, even a Confuse Ray from a Sableye? That's another option. The 2 energy Sableye. Kind of weird looking. I think my opponent had to Oblivion Wing onto it before. That was the problem. We see a Dark Patch onto that benched Yveltal. We see a Muscle Band. We see a Hypnotoxic Laser. All right. So it looks like we're going to get junk hunted for the knockout. On behalf of that Hypnotoxic Laser and the poison damage. So here we'll be down 3 prizes, but that's not the end of the world. This is a deck that can come back from almost anything. So let's promote an Accelgor here. We do have that DCE. We also drew the Sacred Ash. That could be nice. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll Sacred Ash, shuffle in these 4 Pokemon. We get the entire Musharna line back, a Shelmet and a Mew EX. And let's go with the Skyla. It's time to bust out that Megaphone. We'll go ahead and grab it. The Startling Megaphone. So we can discard all 4 of those Pokemon tools on my opponent's board. And we regain our abilities. And this is the important part right here. Let's go ahead and level ball for another Shelmet. Getting that into play. Just because we're going to have to deck and cover this turn. And we are going to knock out Sableye because of the Verbank City Gym in play. It's a little annoying. So we're going to have to sacrifice a Trevenant here. But otherwise, it's not so bad. And oh boy, off the prize, we actually get the Dusknoir. We had both Dusknoir and Town Map prized. Go figure. So I was fortunate to get Dusknoir out right there. That's going to help us with our lockdown from here on out. So we see Yveltal EX coming active now. An Evil Ball or a Y Cyclone, both of those are going to be good here. Evil Ball is the attack of choice for 160 damage. I'll just promote Accelgor, and we can get Dusknoir into play now. We can get Phantump, a Munna. Let's Evo Soda for an Accelgor, and we just need to draw a DCE this turn to deck and cover. But, oh no, we missed again. This has been a very unfortunate game. We have missed over and over and over on things we need. Oh boy. So now I have to decide, what do I want to sacrifice here? I can promote just a Phantump and give that up. Or, let's see, I may have to put out Trevenant in this spot because I don't want my opponent to get an opportunity to attach another tool to Garbodor. Let's take a look through the deck here. See what we have remaining in there. All 4 DCE are in there. We just haven't been able to draw them. Pretty annoying. And I got to decide what I want to promote this turn. I do have Dowsing Machine as an option to regain Startling Megaphone in case my opponent does get another tool. So I may just sacrifice something like a Phantump here. I suppose that works out. And man, this is scary though. My opponent's going to go down to 1 prize. I'm going to go for the long distance Hypnosis. It is Tails. And that means that Yveltal EX will be able to just knock out Accelgor here. Muscle Band goes on to Yveltal EX. Whoa, that probably should have went on Garbodor. That's a very, very big mistake by my opponent. And at this point, this is going to be a close game, folks. I'm not really sure who's going to come out on top. We'll just try to lock him. That's all we can do at this point. We have the Dusknoir, we have the Trevenant, we have Accelgor, we have Mew. And let's start off the deck and cover train. Choo-choo. And 50 with the deck and cover, poison and paralysis. At this point, we just need to see... the only way my opponent can really get out of this is a Lysander and a Switch. You need both of those in order to get going. So I don't really think that's going to happen. The Verbank City Gym is actually helping me out quite a bit, adding on some additional damage to these deck and covers. We're doing an additional 40 in between turns because Poison is getting an extra 2 in between turns thanks to Verbank City Gym. Makes me want to add Verbank City Gym to this deck. This is pretty cool. I'm using Sinister Hand to move damage away from the Yveltal EX again. This is just so we don't knock it out and give my opponent a chance to attack with something else. In this situation, it might not be bad to actually just take down the Yveltal EX. The only reason I'm not doing it is it would open up a bench spot for a Keldeo EX, which I don't want to see. You can see a rush in and retreat, and I don't want that to happen. So we'll go ahead with the deck and cover once again. Just poisoning and paralyzing the Yveltal EX again. And my opponent's just going to pass again. Has nothing to do here. We'll go ahead and drop down a Float Stone. I only have 12 cards in the deck. I'm just going to bench Shelmet here, and we can chorus for a massive 10 cards. Forewarn. And now we can really start to just get going every turn. With that Forewarn, we get to look at extra cards pretty much every turn. And we're just going to continue to deck and cover. And this is just how quickly this deck can take over. We were getting just pummeled the entire game. We're down 4 prizes here. Just Yveltal EX hammering away at our Pokemon. And just like this, though, the Startling Megaphone, the deck and cover, and hey, this is a couple turns later. We've built up all of this damage. All we have to do is deck and cover a couple more times, and we will be able to win this game. As strange as that sounds, we will be able to win. So let's go for some Sinister Hands. This is the most obnoxious ability on Pokemon TCG Online. Next to Reuniclus's damage swap. Takes so long to click all those times. But we have another deck and cover. Will my opponent have a Lysander and a Switch here to be able to get out of the lock? No, another pass. And let's see, there's 110, 220, 330, 330 damage on the board for my opponent. And that means 330. Yeah, we actually should be able to win this turn then. We're going to go ahead and Sinister Hand. And he says GG, so it looks like he's done the math. I have not. He's saying GG. Good game. I guess we have enough. 330. Yeah, I guess that works. We can knock out one of the Yveltal EX, and then we can knock out Trubbish, and then we can just take our last knockout for the win on the active. Hey, we got Town Map out of the prizes. Cool. Both of our Lysander were prized as well. That was a weird amount of weird prizes I had there. Look at all those supporters still in there. But we're going to go ahead and Sinister Hand. This is the longest path to victory, clicking with Sinister Hand. This deck is super annoying to play online. In real life, this does not take this long. But we're going to continue the Sinister Hand, move all the damage onto the Trubbish, and then we should be able to move all the damage up to the active Yveltal EX, and then deck and cover for the win. Trubbish going down. Well, it doesn't really matter which prize I take out here. We'll take the Skyla. And let's see, there's 90 damage left in play. We move that all up. 50 plus 30 from the Verbank and the Poison. That's going to be the finishing blow. One more deck and cover. And just like that, we absolutely neutralized our opponent's ability to do anything. And this just shows why this is one of the most devastating strategies in the game. Trevenant Accelgor with Dusknoir. And we managed to make a big comeback against perhaps the best deck in the format, the Yveltal Garbodor deck. Just goes to show you what can happen when you get all these crazy abilities and attacks working together. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.